Hello, I'm Food Daniel. Here are my predictions for the WFA playoff games to be played on June 11th, 2016. Round 1 of the 2016 playoffs. Cleveland Fusion at the Boston Renegades. Well, with Allison Cahill injured, this will be a closer game than it otherwise would be. Close enough for Cleveland to win? I'm not expecting so. I expect Boston to win this game. It'll be close though. I'm expecting Boston to win by 2 touchdowns or less. I certainly wouldn't mind being mistaken because at the start of the year I did predict that this might be the year Cleveland, finally gets to the level of the Boston, Chicago's, DCs. This could be it. But I expect Boston to win. Atlanta Phoenix at the Pittsburgh Passion. I expect Pittsburgh to win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I'm good either way on this. I mean, it'd be kind of embarrassing if Pittsburgh returns to the WFA as IWFL champs, and the first year back in the WFA, they bounced in the first round of the playoffs. While for Atlanta, it'd be embarrassing for the entire Southeast if the best team in the Southeast once again steps foot outside the Southeast and gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs. So I'll be happy either way. Arlington Impact's the Kansas City Titans. I expect Kansas City to win this game without too much trouble. I think Kansas City will win it by 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, the Impact, they had 2 games this year where they beat a Tier 3 team by a touchdown or less. I mean, if it's that difficult for them to beat a Tier 3 team, I don't think Kansas City's going to have too much trouble here. Pacific Warriors, the Portland Fighting Shockwave. Well, I saw the Warriors last week. They were real nice to me. I'm glad those injuries turned out to be not that serious after all. I'm very, very glad of that, yes. As for the Portland Fighting Shockwave, well, before this year I was friendly with the Fighting Phillies and I was fairly friendly with the Portland Shockwave. But as the Portland Fighting Shockwave, I didn't get to see them this year because they're in that self-contained Pacific Northwest Division, which I love. The winner of this game, Pacific Warriors, Portland Fighting Shockwave, will then play the Central Cal War Angels in Fresno in the second round, and I'll probably be at that one. So whoever wins that game, I'll get to see them again. Hard to predict this one, since they don't have any common opponents, and they didn't play each other. My gut's telling me Portland simply because, from LA to Portland, that's a long road trip. That's 13 or 14 hours. And Portland, 8-0 team. They beat Seattle twice and they pasted them once. I think Portland's going to win, but it'll be close. I'm thinking right about 2 touchdowns, maybe 3, but I'm thinking closer to 2. But again, I'm good either way because I'm looking forward to seeing either one of those teams in the second round. Columbus Comets at the Indy Crash. Okay, this is where I got to take a look at how they've done this year. Why is the Great Lakes team so slippery for me? I can never remember how they did. Let's take a look at Indy Crash. Beat the Fusion by 20, lost to the Force. Beat the Riveters by 24. Beat the Mayhem by 1. Lost to the Slam by 17. Lost to the Force. Lost to the Titans. Beat the Darkshan by 16. Let's take a look at the Comets. Beat the Assault by 32, lost to the Passion by 45, lost to the 460. Beat Toledo by 17, lost to the Fusion by 19. Beat the Mayhem by 35, lost to the Fusion by 31. Wow, this one's hard. This one is hard. Here are 2 teams that get blasted by the Tier 1 teams, but do okay other than that. I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't want to say I cannot predict because it's the postseason. You got to predict something, Alex. Come on. I have no idea who's going to win. But since I'm barely acquainted with anybody from the Crash, and I do love my Columbus Comets, I'm going to say, go Comets! Yes, I predict the Comets to win. Why? I don't know, but Go Comets. Yay. Okay. Jacksonville Dixie Blues, the Alabama Fire. What a Fire. They've had a fantastic first season, haven't they? I mean, they massacred all the lesser teams, and they even split a home and home against the Atlanta Phoenix, the best team in the Southeast. I do want to look at Jacksonville real quick. Let's see what they do. Crush the Anarchy, lost to Tampa Bay, crushed Daytona, crushed the Anarchy. Okay, so they had 3 blowout wins against the Anarchy. They had a blowout win and a fairly competitive wins against Daytona. Then they got crushed by Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Okay, based on that, I feel pretty confident saying the Alabama Fire are going to win this one. That's right, a brand new team in its first season. They're going to advance to round 2, I think. I do have a request from anybody in the Birmingham area who can answer this for me. At the start of the year, I predicted that Alabama's attendance would be well above the league average. I understand their first home game, their attendance was over 500 people, but I haven't heard anything about their second, third, and fourth home games. If anybody can clue me in on that, what was the crowd like at those other 3 home games? I'm very curious. But yeah, I think Alabama will win. And I'll say by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Okay, and finally, the Everett Rain at the Mile High Blaze. Okay, well, I love the ladies of the Everett Rain. I've met them several times. And they certainly have a fun narrative this year. You know, they had a miserable 0-5 start, then they rattled off 3 wins to close out the season and squeaked into the playoffs. Similar to the Cleveland Fusion. Lousy start, but strong finish. I'm traveling to the Mile High Blaze. Well, that too is a very long road trip. I don't know exactly how long, but it's got to be at least 12 hours. I mean, from Everett to Denver, wow. As for the Blaze, though, when I look at their schedule, they haven't really beaten any top shelf or any middle shelf teams either. They beat 3 out of league teams, and I have to assume those out of league teams probably weren't too impressive in the first place. And they beat the Utah Blitz twice. As for Everett, their 3 wins came against the Tacoma Trauma, and I think they had 2 wins against Tacoma Trauma and 1 win against the Southern Oregon Lady Renegades. That was it. They lost twice to Seattle and lost twice to Portland, and then lost once to who was the other ones? Southern Oregon Lady Renegades, I believe. So this is going to be, I'm expecting a scrappy, low-scoring game here. And I just think that long road trip will cause a couple players to have to sit it out, and I think that'll probably enable that, plus the high altitude will enable Mile High to weather it out. I expect Mile High to win, and I'll say it'll be by 2 touchdowns or less, and it'll be a low-scoring game. And that completes my predictions for round 1 of the WFA playoffs. Thank you.